Yeah, so you relocated to Cape Town. You told me about the influence, about music, and also mindset. Do you ever feel like your responsibility as a Zimbabwean artist? I know you are based in South Africa, but do you ever feel like you have a responsibility to always rep your country? The the what can I say in that sense? Do you ever feel like you always have to, don't know how to put this, man, always like culturally train like culture? Yes, 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 culture. Do you feel like cultural responsibility as a Zimbabwean artist?
I think what in one way or the other, I feel like I'm responsible for that because I'm planning on launching my own music and in that so I pass in that thing since I'm gonna be someone who's gonna be introducing that of art Zimbabwean artists to the web. So I feel like I do the best but oh,
There's a proof of it. Of course, man. Of course, too.
even if hip hop is like an international genre, it's an American genre, I always feel like we must feel the African day whenever I drop a song.
Of course, you shouldn't forget that I'm from Zim, and this is what I represent, and I'm unapologetic about that, brother. Yes, brother. Yeah. And then what do you think the world should know about the current Zimbabwe music scene at the moment? Are you in touch with anything that's happening there musically? Maybe you keeping in raps in terms of who's coming up, who's the current what artists at this moment, what are they doing right that you identifying, you know what, this is also a piece of my country that I always want to carry about me, because sticking to your identity wherever you are in the world is really important. Because I feel like when we start to move to the US, now we have this mindset of no, we need to adjust to how things are, instead of basically deciding to be, you know what, I'm going to stick to my roots. I know obviously people are going to be resistant towards it, but I'm also trying to make sure that I do not lose a part of who I am through my representation of where I come from as well. Yes, but do you ever feel like there are things in the world that they should know about Zim and what makes it unique as a country in terms of musically?
Sim, what I can say about the city music city is a very diverse country when it comes to music because we have a lot of genres there, but I see it's a lot of people coming up started to let know things. I didn't notice this guy, Kat Kenash. He doesn't he?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was shocked to find out he's a Zimbabwean guy. Yeah, I was also shocked as well that he's from Zim. So one of the big for us. Yeah, yeah, like one of the biggest producers that came out of this community.
That's another big brand there. We have False JT. Shout out to False JT and the Julius as well. With these tires.
Yeah, that the tiny drops, I had to be something. You're trying to knock on the door, brother. That's why I'm not like to keep my competition like on the larger fee. I always like to aim for the big guy, the biggest guys. But of course, my man, of course. We are also aiming for the Joe Rogans right in the Oko show. Of course, my man, of course. The world should know what's saying, but I always
Look out for what and will roll what they're doing right. But out of everything, we have something to learn from every other artist. The smallest artists, they will teach you something that you won't know.
yes, 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 yes. Always keep open to that as well. I see that learner's mindset, and that's something that we shouldn't actually like abandon in everything that we actually go through. Tell me about anything that has to do with toughest moments in your journey, and how did you push through all of that?
The toughest moments in my day.
Yeah, when I got kicked out of my yeah, I'll say basically at school, out of school. We were rebel at school. Yeah, I could say that to send it was a serial ganja be.
Yo, I was a wild tick. I didn't deep. I wasn't deep into like I am today. And yeah, if some people that know me from back then see me now, they are gonna be shocked to lose this. But yo, I used to be that guy. This endest moment in my life because I had to face my parents and they had to see the other side of me that I used to hide from them. So it was the toughest moment of my life, but it was an eye opener as well because it made believe for myself. Starting from then, even my father, he told me everything he thought about me, and like,
Just say life as it is, but yeah, first I mean that's adulthood and maturing, brothers. Like you just go in one.
why 24 hours ago you were a kid, but now you are an adult. So I can say that was one of the hardest moments in my life.
Yeah, that's lovely for you to go really strong because ever since then, I admit it.
I started building my life from scratch since that day. I started making decisions. That's when I decided, even one day I'm gonna go to South Africa and do this and this.
And look where you are right now, brother. I wrote down my own plot that yeah. And you made it a reality, my man. I can't imagine as a young person being seen as the rebellious and all of a sudden now you tell yourself, you know what, I'm gonna make to South Africa and I get there, I know. And I think this is one thing I always warn South Africans about my fellow brothers is that brother, if you don't have a plan what you wanna do with your life, you are gonna be a person who's just gonna be a reactor. Like anything that happens to you, gonna react to someone, part of someone else's plan. Yeah, if you don't make it else, somebody is gonna make you part of your plans, my man. And your brother, you're going, you're sitting right out there. You're my brother. I'm very conscious of that thing, my man. And I've always warned my fellow brothers that, if you don't take advantage of where you are currently right now, because we focus on so much what we don't have, especially when it comes to becoming an adult, it's very easy for you to point the outside finger and not put it on yourself as well. You told me that you are self-taught, a lot of things you taught yourself, but also that willingness as well.
Learned a very important lesson from my mom. When you point one thing at someone else, remember
They are pointing right back at you, my man. So that's something that I would always consider before pointing. Putting the blame on you, my G Vest. As we move on, man, I just want to find out as well, how do you handle like creative blocks or any like pressures from the industries? Because as an artist, you are going to find yourself in that space where you feel like creatively you're not connected, man.
I always try to be inspired before I record a song. If I don't have inspiration, I won't record anything. You wanna watch a movie or something?
Yes.
Some nights I really say I'm not gonna make a beat of it. Just gonna be sitting music, watch a movie and sleep. So I always advise for people to get to be inspired before they critique it, because without inspiration, sometimes it's hard like to bring out what you want to bring. Sometimes you feel that everything that you are meant to see here have shades. Or when it comes to creativity, I think it's all about when we when it comes to my music, it's an energetic, it's driven. When I'm singing about that thing, more when I find that you crazy. Whenever you energy that thing. So if I don't feel the vibe, I'm not gonna record. I don't wanna lie.
Yo, that's a very smart way of also like handling creativity blocks right there. Because like if you're not fit, you don't do it anyway.
Yeah, rather listen to someone else's music, watch some tutorials,
Yes.
or anything that is gonna get me that first spark.
So you're always chasing that spark, always chasing your spark. Yo, that's a very nice, my brother. That's very nice. I do that very often, and I see that even in my speaking journey as well. I'm starting to take all these styles. It's like you learning from different forms of martial artists, you see. And then all of a sudden you come up with, yeah, you're connecting, brother. They think it's a waste of time, obviously, because what we plant here, I always say that the brain is fertile, so whatever you plant, you're going to reap. So you can't expect to sow when you didn't reap anything. Like, brother, like harvesting is only for farmers. Like, what did you farm? What did you put it? Yeah, what did you put it? Is it the world always gives you? Yeah, because I believe when you open your mouth, You tell the world who you are, my brother. It's the information exposed to. That's why I got back to reading. I bought my first book this year with my money, because right now I started to understand that there's a certain specialized knowledge that you should be invested in. You see, rather than doing something else. I understand, yes, the journey, you can get a lot of things for free. But I feel like when you pay for something, you hold a certain importance towards it. You see, with that is, of course, you see, because everything has to do with value. So when I bought that book for 350, obviously someone else is like, I would never do that. Like, I understand why. So you see, I understand, my man. Knowledge is power. My brother, it's all about application as well. And now, since I'm back on that saddle of trying to read again, now there are things that I'm starting to learn again, and how important it is, whether it's wealth building, whether it's speaking, it's confidence. And I realize everything that starts with me. Yeah, it's never about the outside. It always starts at me. You see, and also that life is about perspective. But there are people who've been in a hard situation. I found myself in a very hard situation in most of my life. And the thing that got me out of it is how I perceived it. I always had to perceive it in a way that, you know what, there's a lesson that you must learn, my brother. Up until you learn this lesson, you're going to keep on repeating the cycle all over and all over again. Yeah. And then I had the privilege of having the guy that married my aunt. He became my father, I think, from grade 5. He practically was there throughout my entire journey. Even in my manhood journey, so he was there. He wasn't saying a lot, because you see, to me, the person who has the biggest influence on my life was the person who didn't say so much. He wanted me to figure it out on my own, come back, because I will be obvious, and then I'll come to you. My man, I'll live there. I think this is one I want to be, and so on and so on. And you would show me the way. But he trusted my own intelligence here towards that, because there are people who are going to instruct you these days. Yes, he was like, you need to face your bullshit, my man. You need to face your bullshit. He's the one who taught you the importance of who you keep around. I also find myself in a space where I was very cruel towards my own mother, because I was in this denial of who she was, instead of trying to understand what made her this person. Oprah talks about so many kids are being told what is wrong with this kid instead of what happened to this kid. So when I moved from that to say, well, what's wrong with my mother, instead of what happened to my mother, you see, then I started to realize, this woman has been through so much. She didn't have a father majority of her life. She built a life up for herself and also her husband and her kids. Yeah. And her own siblings destroyed that for her. And I started to see, what, this is a very strong woman. Because when my father left when I was 10 years old, she decided to stay. She could have done something else, but I always referred my mother to a person who had armor. And when this armor has been shot so much.
Our mothers, I wish we be 5 wives like that.
Yo, my brother, you can say that again.
They always stand by their kids, not like this. Mothers these days, they leave their kid and go to party maybe 2-3 days. You can't find this.
Even a week, 2 weeks, even an entire month, she's sitting with a man there. She's not even worried about who's taking care of her kids. So I think that is one thing I admired about my mother, the fact that my father made a choice. I couldn't understand why he would choose to leave us, but that's his decisions that he made. And I told myself, one day you're going to be a parent, you're going to understand. I even forgave my father. I forgave him a long time ago, because forgiveness is about yourself, freeing yourself from all that instead of being about the other first stuck. Yes, I can't let him rule me for others. So I really couldn't do that. And it was so hard for my mother for many years. But towards like the end of her life, she passed on in 2019, RIP to her. But within those last few months that I spent with her, I learned so much rather than a majority of nights. Wow. Because right now I was in a space where I was like, okay, trying to understand just what drove her to do that. She told me, when I stayed with your father, that as abusive as he, as emotionally physical, was because I was trying to protect your kids. I was keep them more. Shit of off. That was free. That was really brave of him. But it got to a point, obviously, when you get the abuse, like I said, with the armor, when they get shot too many times, it starts to have holes, and then now the armor starts to not work. Then she gave in, she was depressed. I found out that my mother in a postmortem, she had breast cancer and she didn't tell us about that. That was very painful for me to hear. But years later on, I started to understand, you know what, this woman was protecting us from living as well. In a sense where, imagine you get told by your mother that she has a terminal illness and there's nothing you can do about it. That can work your mind. And you're still a kid. I'm the eldest from my mother's side. And remember how that can work you and how it will prevent you from actually going out there. Was very hard for me. But you know what? I told myself the moment she passed on that I'm going to make sure that I keep a memory alive. It's through my values. That's why I always aim to become a better father to you. Whole child. You see, because of the things and the sacrifices that she made towards you. Of course, brother, I cannot forget that. And one thing, my mother didn't have much, but we never felt like we're not loved as my siblings. There are people who have mothers that do everything for them, but the one thing they actually yearn is for a mother to be there for them, pour into the values, you see, because one day she always told, no, my child, I'm not going to be here. It was like a joke. But sometimes she was saying it because she was drunk. And then up until she was no longer here, and I'm like, yo, this woman has been, yeah, but she's been telling us for all these years. So I always tell people, as much as you love to have your mother right there, prepare life without her, the father as well. Prepare life without your parents. Make sure that you are seeping in any form of wisdom and values for them. And don't forget, at the end of the day, one day, they are not going to be here. So I make sure that I preserve the memory, everything that I do. I love her so much, my man. I love her so much because that's my first love. I always tell people, your first love is your mother. Relationship with the son and his mother. That's why they say girls and their fathers, but boys and their mothers. Something else, my band. Something else as well. So in terms of us moving on, I know we went there off a bit. I just wanted to ask finish the last 2 or 3 questions. Uh, what would be something that you would say is misunderstood about the independent artist? No, because we know obviously there's this commerciality, there's record labels, artists that are signed, they have to honor those contracts and all those things. What do you think is the most misunderstood, or anything that you would say is misunderstood about being an independent artist?
Oh, oh, the most, the first, the biggest thing that I just say for being an independent artist is, well, when I need to work twice as hard. Need when I did jury say you passes. So no one tells you that, but sometimes being a big with an artist is hard. But I feel like it's worth it because when it starts to pay off, I'm gonna be sharing that money with someone else. Yes, as opposed to someone who's at that guy might be making millions, but he's only getting after 10 years, Baka, it's gonna be a different story. Hey, this thing of owning mustache is everything to see between the 80s and 90s. But now it's starting to make an impact. It can tell our early CC during his man now.
Yeah, because it shows the other route. And the other thing I love about when you are mentioning ARES is the fact that you went through journey of being under and record label. We all know what ambitious record did to the MTs, the ARES, the Tsikopas, the Stravas, and all of them. And it didn't end up well. And I feel like we as people in whatever independence that we're trying to actually chase, if you have an opportunity to be under a record label, to see the inner works of what it means to be an artist that is signed under a certain record label, for you to see, okay, I'm at a place where they don't value me as well, for you to shift otherwise, and then obviously you're going to go through the independence route, because you want to make your music a reality. That's the other thing. You don't want your artistry to be contained, obvious, do you see?
Because sometimes the code label, they want you to sing some type of message. They want you to, you see,
Basically, it's control.
this type of music.
Control.
You are a hip hop artist, hardcore, but they want you to do Afro sometimes for the people.
Yeah, and they want you to chant.
I feel like sometimes you must get a dope record label, man. Don't just sign your soul out there.
Any artists out there, don't sign your soul away just for a check, because the other thing is that vulnerability you see, Jeffrey, when they know what background you come from, because most of artists are hungry.
Don't get signed when you are Don't think on an hungry stomach. That's real talk, right?
It's you understanding your own values, man. It's you understanding your values and your maji. It's actually an honorable journey as well because right now the responsibility is on you to figure out how do I monetize, how do I keep my creative juices flowing, how to
Can't over it. I feel like once we start to get there,
it's gonna be worth it.
Like,
Yo, there's no going back at all, my man. And can you tell me where do you see Jeffrey Cartier in the next 3 to 5 years?
bro, that's a big one, right? Is that you 3 to 5 years? Yo, brother, yo, to make it worse, 3 to 5 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, my man.
Because I'm putting in a lot of work right now. I'm working on my first EP, so I feel like on 3 to 5 years, I'm gonna be having my second or third album. So it's gonna be something because it's fireworks. Because right after my EP, I feel like TikTok will start to take my music more seriously.
You want to know this guy was not really, he's not coming to play right here. That's but he's not coming to play. I love that, my man. I love that. Because right now the universe is listening. While you're saying, hey, I'm going to do my second album, the universe is listening. It's forming right now. And people don't understand even the power of words. And can you give me a piece of advice that you would give to young Africans who are trying to break through as an artist? Yes. Like creatively, any young creative right there.
The one that I start I would like to give to anyone who's watching that look to follow your heart. Yo. I think that's the most important thing. Your gut is never gonna lie to you. So whatever you feel right now, whatever song you want to record, whatever piece of art that you want to make, whether it's content or anything that you are doing out there, you have to do it now because time is in progress.
Hey, brother, man.
So if you can't do it now, do it as soon as possible.
Maniacs, I hope you guys actually heard that. That time is not promised. This thing of tomorrow, there ain't no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow because the best thing to start is now, man. Is right now. That's the thing that I had for 3 years, from 2016 until 2019. I was telling people I'm gonna start this podcast, but I wasn't doing nothing.
Sometimes you don't even have a computer, but you are saying I'm gonna start a podcast.
Yeah.
People look at you crazy though. What is this guy saying? A podcast to go out there. So some friends they might smile at you in your face, but what they go away, they're some type of friends as well. So
You told you you're dreaming. You're dreaming. You're dreaming. But I remember my content is in, yeah. I remember my content journey. Sorry for that, man. I remember my content journey by sitting on people's yards, using the Wi-Fi, they're going live on Facebook, motivate, whatever. Like, look at him. Every day he's talking to his phone. Yeah, he's probably mad.
but it builds character.
Of course, that is when you actually build character because I was like, I made the decision and the decision is making me. We don't understand that we are trying to
choices. The first step is the hardest one to wreck. It's the hardest one, brother. I even heard another guy saying the same thing. The first million is always the hardest year. But once you have that, you can build from them. So I advise everyone who's watching to start now.
Start now, guys. Jeffrey is telling you, start now. I started as well. And don't be ashamed of where you currently are. In fact, embrace. In one of the reels that I shared, it had this artist from UK, Central C. And he said sometimes he misses the hard times. Yeah. Because those were the times that actually built him up. He misses that. We don't understand. We think people are successful. They miss that struggle.
Which is, because it makes you want to go hard.
Yes, and you're still very raw and hungry at that time. You see, you on your way up and you're doing whatever is necessary, sleeping on people's couches, you're eating chips, wandering chips, knickknacks, and all of that kind of thing. Anything.
You record the killer verse.
Yeah, my Jeep, you there trying to scout where the big artists are. It's like, hey, they heard that he's gonna be this.
When you have money, you don't have that spark.
Exactly. That's the other thing. It can numb you down, brother. It can numb you down. So, young creators, please do not focus on money, focus on value. That is what I can summarize on what you say. Focus on value, focus on understanding that there is something that you have to bring to the table. And once you have locked into that, one of the people commented on one of my TikToks and he said, how do I find my gift? And I told him, the obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way.
You have to go through it.
Yeah, you have to go through it. It's trial and error and all those kind of things, brother. But it's a very beautiful journey because right now, what happens is there are things that you discover about yourself. You start to know, okay, this is not what I want to do. It rise up, yes, because I only say to people, the world is your lamp. You are an artist. Yeah. You see, you are a scientist like me. So in you being a scientist, you must conduct experiments. You'll never know what works for you until you try all of them. I'm like, okay,
Don't stop.
yeah, that's why I don't believe that I failed. I just found other means of, but I was just working. Yeah, losses and lessons, my man. So I moved into that space. Right now, I even told my friend, I've gotten to a point where I look for pressure right now. When things are quiet, I don't like it because right now my skills can be put to the test. My resilience can be to the test. I even put myself in front of my superiors at work, and they didn't even know that I was doing what I was doing. Until one of them mentioned, Tanbury is doing this and this and this and this and this and this. Like, okay, there we go. And then it was my opportunity to actually go in. Yeah, when I went in, and you don't also forget that we're giving a mark for each other. So I just want us to sum this up. I have is just a quick segment. What would be your favorite Zim dish?
So that is to be our step food. I like sandal. I like pap. I like fap. Shout out to Eric, wherever it been at pap, yo.
Yo, brother, I can't go without and go 3 days. Anything with pap.
Say pap with acha. Any type of meats too. That is to be
My favorite perfect dish. Okay, so have you ever performed at a show previously? Any concerts, mini shows, or whatever, where you had to like showcase your music talent? Yeah.
that. I didn't perform for quite a few tours. No, starting out, but ever since I came to South Africa, I can say this.
You haven't gotten any gig.
Performance, yeah. Sorry, I'm still looking forward to performing in USA.